My name is Alara Winters, and for as long as I can remember, I've been surrounded by a world of expectations and whispered legacies. As the daughter of a prominent family in the city, my return from university was supposed to mark a new chapter, a triumphant homecoming where I'd finally step into my rightful place in society. I had imagined it many times, my family beaming with pride, my boyfriend Ethan by my side, the glittering lights of the grand banquet in my honor. But reality had a different story in store for me. The night was radiant, the grand hall bathed in golden light as guests in elegant gowns and tailored suits danced and mingled. Laughter and the soft clink of crystal filled the air, and for a moment I allowed myself to feel the warmth of belonging. I stood near the center of the hall, smoothing down my pale rose gown, trying to ignore the fluttering in my chest. Ethan, my boyfriend of 2 years, had been distant all evening. He'd given me a quick smile, murmured something about needing to take a call, and disappeared into the crowd. I stood alone, feeling the eyes of the room settle on me, the returning daughter left standing by herself. I scanned the room for him, my heart sinking with each passing second. Where was he? That's when a deep, smooth voice spoke from just behind me. You seem lost. I turned, my breath catching. Standing there was none other than Leonard Ashbourne, the city's enigmatic crown prince. His presence was undeniable, from the tailored cut of his midnight blue suit to the calm, almost magnetic confidence in his dark eyes. His lips curved in a faint smile, one that was both kind and knowing. I'm not lost, I said quickly, though my cheeks warmed at the thought. I'm just looking for someone. Your boyfriend? He asked, his voice soft but edged with something I couldn't quite place. I hesitated. Yes. He stepped away for a moment. Leonard's eyes held mine, and for a heartbeat, it felt like the rest of the room faded into soft blur. Then allow me to keep you company while you wait. It would be a shame for someone as lovely as you to be left standing alone at her own banquet. The way he said it, his voice low and gentle, sent a flutter through me. I found myself nodding before I could think of a reason to refuse. He offered his arm, and I hesitantly took it. Together, we strolled away from the main floor, his presence steady and oddly comforting. As we neared the grand windows that opened onto the terrace, the distant hum of conversation faded behind us. Outside, the moon hung low and full, its light spilling silver across the marble floor. For a moment, I forgot my worries and allowed myself to enjoy the quiet. Your Highness, I murmured, unsure of how to address him. Leonard, he corrected softly, his gaze fixed on me. Tonight, call me Leonard. I smiled faintly. All right, Leonard. Better, he said, a warmth touching his voice. Now tell me, why does the girl of the hour look so troubled? I opened my mouth to answer, but before I could, a wave of dizziness washed over me. My vision tilted, and I instinctively reached for the nearby railing. I don't feel right. Leonard's hand was instantly on my arm, steady and warm. His brows drew together in concern. You're pale. Let's get you outside. He guided me gently through the terrace doors, the cool night air washing over me. I drew in deep breaths, trying to clear my spinning head. It wasn't just stress, I realized. Something was wrong. I'm sorry, I whispered, clutching the railing. I think I just need a moment. But Leonard wasn't convinced. His eyes scanned me carefully, his jaw tightening as though he suspected something. You've barely touched your glass tonight. This isn't just nerves. A sharp pang of realization struck me, and I thought of Ethan, his hurried whispers, his sudden disappearance. My heart twisted with confusion and a flicker of fear. But before I could voice my worries, a servant appeared behind Leonard. Your Highness, the car is ready, the man said quietly. Leonard's face hardened for a brief second, then softened again as he turned to me. I think you need to rest, Alara. Let me take you somewhere safe. You can trust me. I should have hesitated. I should have asked more questions. But the gentle firmness of his voice, the genuine concern in his eyes, made me nod. The car ride was a blur of city lights and whispered reassurances. Leonard sat beside me, his hand lightly brushing mine as though silently promising I wasn't alone. When we arrived, it wasn't at the palace or a grand mansion, but at a quiet, elegant townhouse tucked away from the bustling streets. Inside, he helped me to a velvet chaise in a softly lit sitting room. "I'll call for a doctor," he said softly. "You'll be all right." I tried to fight the drowsiness pulling at me, but it was no use. My last memory was Leonard's voice, quiet and filled with a strange tenderness. "I'm sorry you were caught in this, but I'll make sure you're safe." As sleep claimed me, I felt the weight of unanswered questions settle into the darkness. What had happened to me? And why was it Leonard, of all people, who had stepped in to protect me? The first thing I felt when I woke was warmth. A soft blanket cocooned me, and faint sunlight filtered through sheer curtains. My head ached dully, but it was a far cry from the overwhelming dizziness I remembered. Slowly, I opened my eyes. I wasn't in my own room. The space was unfamiliar yet comforting, high ceilings, muted colors, a vase of pale lilies on a side table. I sat up, my heart skipping as the events of the night before rushed back. The banquet. Ethan's disappearance. Leonard's concerned gaze. And now I was here. A gentle knock sounded at the door, and I barely had time to murmur a hesitant "come in" before the door creaked open. Leonard stepped inside, his suit replaced by a simple, soft gray sweater and dark trousers. He looked more human, less the untouchable prince, yet no less compelling. "You're awake," he said, relief evident in his voice. "How are you feeling?" I pressed a hand to my temple. "Better, I think. My head's still a bit heavy." "I'm not surprised," he said, stepping closer. "The doctor examined you last night. He said you were drugged. The effects should wear off soon, but you'll need to rest." My breath caught. "Drugged? But how?" He hesitated, as though weighing what to tell me. "The doctor said it wasn't from the food or drink you had at the banquet. It was something stronger. I have my suspicions." I swallowed hard, memories clicking into place. The way Ethan had pressed that second glass of champagne into my hand, the way he'd vanished immediately after. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice shaking. He must have done something." Leonard's expression darkened. "It's possible. I've already asked my men to look into him. Whoever was behind this, I won't let them hurt you." I felt a sharp pang of guilt, realizing how blind I'd been. How could I have missed the signs? "I don't understand," I murmured. Why would anyone want to do this?" Leonard crouched before me, his gaze locking onto mine. "Sometimes people aren't who they seem to be. Sometimes they hide their true intentions behind smiles and sweet words. But whatever Ethan's reasons were, you're safe now. And I'll make sure it stays that way." His hand hovered near mine, as though he wanted to reach for it, but was waiting for permission. Tentatively, I let my fingers brush against his. The contact was brief, but it sent a warmth through me that chased away the lingering chill of fear. "Thank you," I whispered. "For helping me. For believing me. I'm not doing this just because it's the right thing," he said quietly. "There's more at stake than you know. And you're not as alone in this as you might think." His words stirred a mix of emotions, confusion, curiosity, and a flicker of hope. Before I could ask more, the door opened again, this time revealing a slender woman in a neat uniform. "Your Highness," she said with a bow. "The investigator has arrived." Leonard stood, his expression tightening. "Tell him I'll be down in a moment." The woman nodded and slipped away, leaving us alone again. Leonard turned back to me, his face gentler now. "I need to handle this," he said. "But I'll have breakfast brought up for you. You need to eat and regain your strength. Please stay here and rest." I nodded, though a tangle of questions pressed at my lips. Why was he so protective? What did he mean by "more at stake"? And what would happen next? Before leaving, Leonard hesitated by the door. "Alara," he said softly, my name curling on his tongue like a secret. "If anything happens, if anyone tries to reach you, call for me. I won't let them near you." I watched him go, the quiet click of the door echoing in the stillness. For a moment, I sat in the silence, trying to piece everything together. Then, gathering my courage, I rose from the chaise and padded over to the window. The city stretched out beyond the glass, its rooftops bathed in the soft light of morning. I pressed a hand against the cool pane, my mind racing. Had Ethan really tried to harm me? And if so, why? What could he gain from it? Or was he just a pawn in something larger? A soft knock at the door startled me, and I turned as a maid entered carrying a tray laden with breakfast, fluffy croissants, fruit, and a pot of tea. She set it on the small table by the window and gave me a polite nod before departing. Though my appetite was faint, I forced myself to eat, letting the simple ritual of breakfast steady me. With each bite, the haze in my mind cleared a little more, and my resolve strengthened. I wouldn't just sit here and wait. I needed answers. After breakfast, I changed into the simple dress left for me and quietly ventured into the hallway. The townhouse was elegant yet understated, with soft carpets and warm wood. I followed the faint murmur of voices until I reached a doorway cracked slightly open. Inside, I glimpsed Leonard speaking in low tones with a man in a dark suit. "We believe it was planned," the man said. But it wasn't supposed to end the way it did. There was interference. Someone tipped her off before the worst could happen. Leonard's jaw clenched. "Who?" The man hesitated. "We're still working on that. But there's more. Her family's name is involved. Someone wants her out of the way for reasons that go beyond personal jealousy." My breath caught in my throat. My family? Before I could hear more, a floorboard creaked underfoot, and Leonard's head snapped up. His eyes met mine through the crack in the door. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then his voice, quiet but firm, "Alara, come in." Heart racing, I pushed the door open and stepped into the room. "I think," I said, my voice trembling but determined, "it's time you told me everything." I stepped fully into the room, the heavy wooden door clicking shut behind me. The investigator, a sharp-eyed man in a dark suit, gave me a polite nod before gathering his papers and bowing to Leonard. "I'll leave you to speak privately, Your Highness," he murmured, retreating from the room. The air seemed to grow heavier as the door closed, leaving just Leonard and me in the quiet. His eyes, dark and steady, held mine. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "You heard," he said softly. I nodded, my voice barely above a whisper. "I heard enough. Someone wants me gone, and my family's name is somehow tied to it." Leonard's expression tightened. He ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. "Yes, and I wanted to tell you everything once I had more answers. But it seems fate has forced my hand." "Please," I said, stepping closer, my voice trembling but determined. "I need to know. I can't just sit in the dark, waiting for someone else to decide what happens to me." He studied me for a moment, as though weighing my strength, my resolve. Finally, he sighed and gestured to the chairs near the low table by the window. "Sit," he said gently. I did, folding my hands tightly in my lap as he settled across from me. He leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees, his tone low and measured. "There are factions in the city, powerful families, business rivals, who've been vying for influence for years," he began. "Your family, the Winters, holds significant sway, though much of it is behind the scenes. Someone, either a rival family or a faction within, wants to destabilize that power. And you, Alara, are seen as both a threat and a pawn." I drew in a sharp breath. "A pawn?" He nodded. "There were whispers that someone wanted to discredit you, perhaps even remove you quietly. The drugging last night wasn't just a whim. It was a calculated move. If I hadn't intervened," he trailed off, his jaw tightening. A shiver ran down my spine. "But why me? I'm not involved in any of the family's business. I just came home." "That's exactly why," Leonard said quietly. "You're perceived as an easier target. Vulnerable, but also valuable. Your reappearance gives them an opportunity to manipulate, to control. I bit my lip, my mind racing. And Ethan? Was he working with them? I don't have proof yet, Leonard admitted, his voice grim. But his sudden disappearance at the banquet, his proximity to you, he's at the center of this. Whether he's a willing accomplice or a pawn himself remains to be seen. A wave of nausea washed over me, but I forced myself to stay calm. What happens now? Leonard's eyes softened, and he leaned closer. Now we keep you safe. And we uncover the truth. But you must trust me, Alara. If you leave this house, if you try to face this alone, it will be dangerous. They'll be watching. I swallowed hard, my throat tight with fear and determination. I trust you, I said softly. But I don't want to just sit and hide. There must be something I can do. A flicker of admiration lit his gaze. You're braver than I expected, he murmured. There may be a way, but it will be risky. I'm listening, I said, my voice steady. Before he could answer, a knock came at the door. Leonard frowned and rose, crossing to open it. A young man, dressed in the Ashbourne livery, bowed deeply. Your Highness, there's a visitor asking for Miss Winters, the servant said, his voice low. A Mr. Ethan Langford. He claims he's here to explain himself. My breath caught. Ethan? Leonard's face hardened, but he turned to me. Do you want to see him? Here, under my protection, or send him away? A tangle of emotions churned in me, anger, confusion, fear. But also a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, Ethan had an explanation that would make sense. I'll see him, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. Here. With you. Leonard nodded, his jaw tight. Bring him in, he told the servant, who bowed and vanished. A few tense minutes passed before the door opened again. Ethan stepped in, looking pale and disheveled, his suit slightly rumpled. His eyes darted between me and Leonard, and his hands trembled slightly. Alara, he said, his voice hoarse. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You have to believe me. I stood, crossing my arms. You disappeared last night. You left me there, vulnerable. How can I believe anything you say? Ethan's gaze flicked to Leonard, then back to me. I was trying to protect you. I got a message, a threat. They said if I didn't keep you at the banquet, something worse would happen. I thought, if I stepped away, it would diffuse the situation. I didn't know they'd go that far. His words tumbled out in a rush, but something in his tone fell off, like he was telling only part of the truth. Leonard's voice was calm but sharp. Who sent the message, Ethan? Who threatened you? Ethan's face twisted with guilt and fear. I don't know. It came anonymously. Just a message saying to keep her occupied, to not let her leave early. I thought it was just a stupid prank or some business rival. But when I saw her collapse, I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I stared at him, torn between anger and a flicker of sympathy. Could he really have been a pawn, caught in something larger than himself? Leonard stepped closer to me, his voice low. This isn't over, Alara. But we need to be careful. Ethan may be telling the truth, or he may be trying to cover for someone else. We'll find out. I met Leonard's steady gaze, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. I wasn't sure who to trust anymore, but one thing was clear. I couldn't face this alone. I'm staying, I said quietly. I'll do whatever it takes to protect myself. And to find out the truth. Leonard's expression softened, a hint of pride flickering in his eyes. Good. Then we'll face this together. And as the sun rose higher, painting the room with golden light, I felt a shift, not just in the room, but in myself. I was no longer the girl standing alone at her homecoming banquet. I was a woman determined to uncover the truth, even if it meant stepping into danger. Ethan sat stiffly in the chair by the window, his gaze darting nervously between me and Leonard. I stood close to the prince, feeling the weight of his steady presence beside me. Ethan, Leonard said quietly, if you want us to believe you, you need to tell us everything. Who contacted you? What exactly did they say? And why involve Alara? Ethan's hands trembled as he ran them through his disheveled hair. I swear, I don't know who it was. The message just said to keep Alara occupied, to make sure she stayed at the banquet for a while longer. I thought he broke off, his voice faltering. You thought what? I pressed, my voice sharper than I intended. I thought it was just a business thing, Ethan said miserably. Your family has rivals, Alara. I assumed it was some underhanded move to embarrass them, not to hurt you. Leonard's jaw tightened. And you didn't think to warn her? To protect her? Ethan's eyes met mine, guilt and fear warring in his expression. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. When you collapsed, I realized how serious it was. I tried to leave, to figure things out, but by then it was too late. They were already watching me. I swallowed hard, trying to make sense of his words. Could Ethan truly have been manipulated, or was this just another lie? Leonard stepped closer, his voice low and firm. Who's they, Ethan? If you were threatened, we need names. Ethan hesitated, then shook his head helplessly. I don't know. But there's something else. The message mentioned a name, someone I didn't recognize. Sable. They said, Sable expects her to be gone by morning. I thought it was some code, but now I think it's a person. Leonard's expression darkened. Sable. He exchanged a quick glance with me, then nodded once. Thank you, Ethan. You'll stay here until we can ensure your safety. And don't even think about running, we'll have eyes on you. Ethan looked pale but nodded, sinking further into the chair. Leonard turned to me, his voice quieter now. Alara, I need to speak with you privately. Let's go to the study. I followed him out of the room, my mind racing. Who was Sable? And how did they fit into the puzzle of my family, Ethan, and Leonard's warnings? The study was a cozy room lined with bookshelves and a large oak desk. Leonard closed the door behind us, his expression grave. Sable is a name I've heard before, he said softly. They're known in certain circles, an enforcer of sorts, someone who handles delicate and dangerous matters for the city's shadow players. If they're involved, this goes far deeper than a simple family rivalry. A chill ran down my spine. So I'm a target for something much bigger than I thought. Leonard's gaze softened as he reached for my hands. You're not just a target. You're a key. There's something about your family, your return, that's triggered this. But I promise you, I'll protect you. No matter what it takes. The warmth of his hands grounded me, steadying my racing thoughts. Thank you, I whispered, my voice catching. I'm going to have my team look deeper into the Sable, Leonard continued. And you'll stay here, where it's safe. I know you're brave, Alara, but this is dangerous. If we're not careful, they'll use you as a pawn, or worse. I nodded, though a kernel of fear lodged in my chest. I won't let them control me, I said quietly. I want to help, Leonard. There must be something I can do. He hesitated, then gave a faint smile. You're determined, aren't you? I smiled faintly back. I've come this far. I'm not giving up now. Before he could answer, a knock came at the door. One of Leonard's men stepped inside, his expression tense. Your Highness, we've just received word. There's been a break-in at the Winters estate. The study was ransacked, and something was taken, a small locked box from the family safe. My breath caught. My family's estate? Who could have? Leonard's expression hardened. It's them. They're looking for something. Something they think your family hid, and they're getting bolder. I felt my knees weaken, and Leonard was at my side instantly, steadying me. We need to move quickly, he said. Alara, do you know what was in that box? I shook my head, my mind spinning. I don't. My father kept it locked away, but he never told me what was inside. I always assumed it was just old papers or something valuable. Leonard's jaw tightened. Whatever it was, it's connected to this. Your father may have known something, or possessed something, that they're desperate to get. And they'll use any means to find it, including you. The weight of his words pressed down on me, but I forced myself to stand straighter. Then we'll find out what it was. Before they do. Leonard's expression was unreadable for a moment, then he nodded. Agreed. I'll have my people search for clues. And we'll keep you under watch at all times. No more chances for them to get close. A knock interrupted us again, this time softer. The same servant from earlier appeared, his voice low. "Your Highness, Lady Winter's family lawyer has arrived. He says it's urgent." Leonard and I exchanged a glance. "Bring him to the drawing room," Leonard said. "We'll speak with him immediately." As we left the study and made our way through the halls, I felt a strange mix of fear and resolve tightening in my chest. There were more questions than answers, but at least I wasn't alone. And as Leonard's hand found mine in a quiet, steady reassurance, I realized something else. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight for truth, and for a future I hadn't dared to imagine. The drawing room was quiet save for the ticking of an ornate clock on the mantel. Leonard and I sat across from the family lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, a thin man with spectacles perched precariously on his nose. His leather briefcase sat open beside him, papers neatly organized within. He adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. "Lady Winters, Your Highness," he began, his tone formal but with a hint of urgency. "I came as soon as I heard about the incident at the Winters estate. There's something you need to know, something your father left in my care, should anything ever happen to him or the family." My breath caught. Something my father left? Why didn't I know about this before? Mr. Caldwell's expression softened. "Your father was a cautious man, Lady Alara. He believed knowledge was power, and sometimes too dangerous to be shared openly. But he trusted that when the time came, you would be ready." He reached into his briefcase and withdrew a slim envelope, sealed with red wax bearing my family's crest. "This letter was meant for you," he said quietly, handing it to me. With trembling fingers, I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. The handwriting was unmistakably my father's, precise, flowing strokes I'd recognize anywhere. My eyes scanned the words, my breath hitching as I read. "My dearest Alara, if you are reading this, it means that forces beyond our family's control have moved against us. There is something hidden, a legacy tied to our bloodline, and a secret that many would kill to possess. I could not tell you when you were younger, for your safety. But now you must understand that our family's influence extends far deeper than society knows. Within the small box in the study safe lies a key not just to wealth or power, but to the truth of who we are. Guard it with your life. Trust no one except those who have proven themselves to you. Find the truth. It will set you free. With all my love, Father." I read the letter twice, my hands trembling, before I looked up at Leonard. His gaze was steady, but a shadow of concern flickered in his eyes. "They've taken the box," I whispered. "They have the key." Leonard's expression hardened. "Then we need to find out what it opens before they do. Mr. Caldwell, do you have any idea what this key refers to?" Mr. Caldwell shook his head. "Your father was always careful. I knew he was hiding something important, but he never confided the details. All I know is that he frequently traveled to a secluded property outside the city, a place he visited whenever he needed privacy. It's possible that whatever he was guarding is hidden there." A glimmer of hope stirred within me. "Where is this property?" Caldwell handed Leonard a folded map. "Here. It's an old estate, barely maintained. Your father owned it under a different name to keep it hidden. If the key was taken, whatever it unlocks may still be safe there, at least for now." Leonard glanced at the map, then at me. "We'll leave tonight," he said. "If they're after the truth, we need to find it before they do." A knot of fear tightened in my chest, but I nodded. "I'll go with you. I won't let my family's secrets fall into the wrong hands." Leonard hesitated, his eyes searching mine. "Alara, it will be dangerous." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," I said quietly, my voice steadier than I felt. "I need to know the truth. For my father, for myself." He nodded, a faint, grim smile tugging at his lips. "Then we'll face this together." That evening, under the cover of dusk, Leonard and I prepared for the journey to the estate. He insisted on a small, trusted group of his guards accompanying us, and I was grateful for their presence. As we drove through the countryside, The city lights fading into the distance, I found myself sitting beside Leonard in the back seat of the sleek black car. The night was quiet, save for the hum of the engine and the faint rustle of the wind. Leonard glanced at me, his voice low. "How are you holding up?" I managed a faint smile. Nervous. Determined. A little of both. His lips curved gently. "You're braver than you know, Alara. Most people would have fled after what you've been through. But you're facing it head-on." I looked out at the darkened fields passing by, my thoughts tangled with fear and hope. "I don't want to live in fear," I said softly. "And I don't want anyone else to get hurt because of me." His hand brushed mine, a warm, grounding touch. "You're not alone in this," he said quietly. "I promised to protect you, and I meant it." For a moment, the weight of everything, the betrayal, the danger, the mystery lifted, replaced by the quiet comfort of his presence. I squeezed his hand, grateful for his unwavering support. Hours later, we arrived at the secluded estate. It was a sprawling property, shrouded in overgrown hedges and thick trees. The house itself was old but sturdy, its windows dark and silent. Leonard signaled for the guards to sweep the perimeter before we approached. As we stepped inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of aged wood. Shadows danced along the walls, cast by our flashlights. "This place feels," I hesitated, searching for the right word. "Forgotten," Leonard supplied, his voice low. We moved through the house carefully, searching for anything that might hint at what my father had hidden. In the library, we found bookshelves lined with ancient tomes, their spines cracked and faded. In the study, locked drawers yielded little beyond faded correspondence and old maps. Finally, in a small room tucked behind the master bedroom, I spotted something, a faint outline on the floorboards. "Leonard," I called softly, gesturing to the corner. He knelt beside me, brushing aside dust to reveal a hidden trapdoor. With a quiet nod, he gestured to one of the guards to pry it open. The wood creaked and groaned, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. "Stay close," Leonard murmured, offering his hand. I took it, and together we descended into the hidden cellar. The air was cool and damp, and the flicker of our flashlights revealed a heavy metal chest at the center of the room. It was old, its surface etched with unfamiliar symbols, and it bore a lock with a missing key. "This is it," I whispered. Leonard's expression was grim. "And we're not the only ones looking for it." A faint creak echoed above us, footsteps. We weren't alone. The creak of footsteps echoed above us, sharp against the silence of the hidden cellar. Leonard and I froze, our hands tightening instinctively. One of the guards signaled with a hand gesture. There were multiple intruders. Leonard's jaw tightened. "Stay close to me," he whispered. I nodded, my pulse quickening, and we crouched beside the heavy chest. Leonard drew a small weapon from his jacket. He had come prepared. A sudden scuffle upstairs told us the guards were engaging the intruders, but it was clear some had slipped through. The door above creaked open, and shadows spilled down the staircase. Two masked figures descended, their movements careful but determined. They hadn't noticed us yet. Leonard gave me a brief nod, then rose swiftly, disarming the first intruder with a practiced twist. The second lunged toward me, but I sidestepped instinctively, adrenaline surging through my veins. Leonard moved like a shadow, swift and controlled. Within moments, the cellar was silent again, the two intruders incapacitated. He turned to me, his breathing steady despite the tension. "Are you hurt?" I shook my head, though my heart raced wildly. "I'm fine," I said softly. The sound of footsteps above grew louder, and one of Leonard's guards appeared at the top of the stairs. "Your Highness, we've secured the area." "No further threats." Leonard nodded sharply. "Good. Keep watch, no one gets in or out." The guard disappeared, leaving us alone again in the dimly lit cellar. I turned to the heavy chest, its lock still waiting for a key. "This must be what they were after," I said quietly. Leonard knelt beside it, studying the intricate lock. They stole the key, but your father wouldn't have left us without another option. There must be something else. I thought back to my father's letter. His words echoed in my mind. Trust no one except those who have proven themselves. Suddenly, it struck me. Wait, I murmured, pulling a delicate pendant from around my neck. It was an old family heirloom, something my father had given me when I was a child. I had always worn it without question. Leonard's eyes widened as I held the pendant against the lock. It can't be. I twisted the pendant, and with a faint click, the lock yielded. The chest creaked open, revealing stacks of documents, a velvet pouch, and a slim wooden box. Leonard lifted the documents first, scanning them quickly. These are records, proof of illegal dealings by some of the city's most powerful figures. Names, dates, transactions. This is explosive evidence. I opened the wooden box to reveal a collection of old photographs and letters. My father's handwriting filled the pages, chronicling a secret history of our family, a lineage intertwined with the city's founding and ancient agreements meant to protect it from corruption. This is what they were after, I murmured. Not just wealth or power, but the truth, evidence that could topple the ones trying to control us. Leonard's hand rested lightly on mine. Your father entrusted this to you because he knew you would use it wisely, he said softly. We need to get this to the right people. This can bring justice. I looked up at him, a swell of gratitude and hope flooding my chest. With your help, we can finally stop them, I said. He smiled, a rare and genuine warmth in his eyes. With your strength and courage, Elara, we already have. In the days that followed, Leonard and I worked tirelessly to expose the truth. The documents were turned over to the city's highest authorities, and a wave of arrests followed. Corrupt officials, criminal lords, and shadow figures swept away in a storm of justice. The name Sable was unmasked as a notorious figure who had controlled much of the city's underworld, now facing trial for his crimes. Ethan, though flawed, came forward with his own testimony, earning him leniency and a chance to rebuild his life. He apologized to me, sincerely this time, and though the betrayal still lingered, I could sense his remorse was genuine. Through it all, Leonard stood by me, unwavering and protective, but never controlling. Together, we navigated the chaos that followed, finding moments of peace amidst the storm. Months later, the city had begun to heal. My family's name was cleared, restored to honor not through wealth or power, but through truth. The hidden estate was transformed into a place of learning and history, preserving the stories that my father had once guarded so fiercely. Leonard and I sat beneath the sprawling oaks of the estate garden, the late afternoon sun casting dappled light across the grass. He held my hand, his thumb tracing slow, reassuring circles against my skin. You've changed everything, Elara, he said softly. For your family, for the city, and for me. I smiled, leaning against his shoulder. We did it together. I couldn't have done it without you. He pressed a kiss to my hair, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt truly safe, truly at peace. I was thinking, Leonard murmured, his voice low and teasing, perhaps it's time for a new beginning. For us. I turned to face him, my heart lifting. What kind of beginning? He drew a small box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a delicate ring, a simple yet elegant design that sparkled in the fading light. A beginning where we face the future together, he said, his voice steady and filled with quiet hope. Elara, will you marry me? Tears sprang to my eyes, and I nodded, a laugh breaking through my tears. Yes, 1,000 times yes. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me close, and as we sat there beneath the trees, surrounded by the legacy of my family and the promise of our future, I knew that the darkness of the past had finally given way to something brighter. To love, to truth, and to the life we were meant to build together. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and remember to like and subscribe for more heartfelt stories.